much to you? Like going to a restaurant or hanging at the zoo? Clothes and sports and funny news, crafts and travel too. Nothing ever scripted, so expect the unexpected.
Hello.
Buenos dias. Aloha.
It's the Jenny Penny Walla Talk Show. It's the Jenny Penny Walla Talk Show. It's the Jenny Penny Walla Talk Show.
Hi, welcome to our show. It's Tuesday, July 30th, 2019, episode 92. I'm Chatty Patty.
I'm Paula Walla.
Our special guest today from WDET, Ann Delisi.
Hello, ladies.
Welcome, Ann. Thank you for coming.
I'm very happy to be here.
We are awesome.
Really happy you're here. This is great.
So, wow, you've been in Detroit media for 20 years, or more than 20 years. Tell us.
More than 30.
You were at Wayne State. Did you start at WAYN?
No, I didn't. I didn't go to Specs, and I didn't start at AYN. I actually started at I was studying music, so I always say that failed musicians become disc jockeys because I wasn't that good.
Maybe
really.
that's what I should do.
It's not really a good job anymore. She's really even lucky. In fact, you probably have most people's dream job. I'm sure a lot of hard work went into that. I mean, are you ever shocked by how you got here? Or that you actually made it?
I'll tell you what I'm surprised by is that I was able to do my entire career staying in my hometown. So I was able to work at a number of radio stations in Detroit, which, I mean, one was in Canada, but it was still the Detroit market. And so I'm kind of surprised that I was able to do it and then do something I love. What I'm more shocked about is that I can still do a program today where I pick the music and I make the decisions and I run the show, basically.
That's
Who
awesome.
run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls.
That's right. What a lovely idea.
You must have an amazing record collection at home.
It's all boxed up and put away in places. But I have like 36,000 things in my iTunes library.
Oh, my gosh.
36,000. Oh, my God. I seriously have like 6. I don't even know what to put on my
don't
phone.
even
Hell, I want to know what 6 things are in there.
I know.
I mean, I don't even know what I would pick if it had to be 6. Do you have any idea what one of them is?
I do. It was, one of them was something I heard on your program.
Oh, that's a good answer already.
Yeah, and of course I can't think of who it is. It was the rocker with the short hair that's in like her 70s, and it was like she came back with a
Wanda
Cougar
Jackson?
album. No, bigger than that. I can't even think.
She's in her 70s?
I think so. It was
I'll think of it. We're getting way off topic.
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
We have so much to talk about.
We'll look at
I know.
about it.
Annie
We'll look at
Lennox.
my phone.
Annie
Yeah,
Lennox.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was Annie Lennox.
Oh,
didn't she come out with a new album like 5 years ago?
Well, she would like take time away and then come back and take time away and come back. She's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
She is, yeah. So
she's really great. Okay, then you're
Mystery
good.
solved.
You're good on that
okay,
one.
yeah, that was good. So, have you ever done television?
I did. For 5 years, I hosted a show on Channel 56 called Backstage Pass.
Ooh.
So it was an arts and culture. I learned a lot hosting the show, and we would do all the arts and culture in Detroit. It was a really good show. And it was a show where we actually did what we said we would do. You know how you get it sometimes, somebody proposes something and you're like, wow, this sounds great, and then you start doing it, you're like, this isn't what was on that piece of paper, or what we talked about. We really did what we said we would do, which was to promote arts and culture in Detroit. And so I did that for 5 years, and it made me appreciate radio even more. I'll tell you that.
Because you can hide.
Well, I always look my finest on the radio.
You look great.
And, oh, gosh. But on TV, you really have to bring it. It's hair and makeup, and there's a number of people involved in the production. So you have a floor manager, a floor director, and a lighting, and all these different people. But when you do radio, it's just you. And I love that part of it because I can talk as long as I need to talk, and I can decide what I'm going to play next. And and from a female perspective, I was aware of this even when I started out because my first air shift was overnight, which was great. So I couldn't do any damage to the good WDET brand at the time, and there was no social media, so nobody knew for the longest time what I looked like. So people thought I was short and blonde for forever, and I know it couldn't have been like a wrong on every count. But I was never judged on what I looked like. So I was judged on what I said, what I knew, and what I played.
Like the voice.
And the voice.
And the voice.
I'm
No,
like
the
closing
voice,
my
I forgot
eyes.
that part. Yeah,
Oh my God, it's Saturday morning. I'm listening.
Yeah.
And you were wearing sweats. You could wear whatever you want on radio. You don't have to
Oh.
get, like, we're all dressed up today. I got my finest t-shirt.
Well,
Yeah, Paul and I are. We need someone to do our makeup. So if you want to do our makeup for free once a week, call us.
Bring a makeup artist in for fun.
Oh,
You could do that as a guest.
I like that. I have one
You
too.
could do that. Yeah.
So did you ever get frustrated enough where you thought, well, this is it, my radio career is over? Like maybe in at WDET in like 2005 or 2006, fans were really upset because they had donated a lot of money, and then
Well, I
they
was already
took.
gone.
Oh, you weren't there at
So
that time.
I wasn't there when all that happened. I was long gone from WDET by that time.
But did you get frustrated with radio and think this might be the end?
Well, I was
Ever.
I was continually working at other stations, so I was not working in radio. I was disappointed and saddened because when I was on WDET the first time from 83 to 95, I was on the air, but I was also the music director, and I helped to build this library of music there, and I was a liaison between WDET and record companies around the country. So I had a position where my job and my goal was to elevate WDET nationally, and I had done that. And in one fell swoop, when that format change happened, all of that was gone.
That must have been really sad.
So it was sad, and it was hard to watch, but I was a consumer of that station by then, and so I just had an emotional connection to it. But I was already gone. I was at the River, and then I had already gone on to 96.3, and I was doing a lot of other things. And, you know, people asked me why I left WDET in the first place, and a lot of people assumed I left for the money, and that had nothing to do with it. Like, I just don't make decisions based on money, and I wanted to learn more about the field I was in. I wanted to be challenged by new people, and I wanted to just do things differently. And so I learned an awful lot. And at DET by that time, I figured I've done enough, and I figured out what this scenario is going to bring to my career. And I felt like I was leaving it in a really good place. And all I had to do was cross the river to go to work. So it
Who'd have
wasn't so
thought?
bad.
And now you're back.
And now I'm back. Yep.
Yay!
I worked over there for 3 years, and then I came back, and then I went right to work in the Fisher Building, which is the most stunning place to
Oh,
work.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. Yeah. So yeah.
So
But
s-
I never said to myself, "Oh, this is over. I can't do this anymore." No.
Good.
No. I was happy that I was happy to be gainfully employed in the things that I really wanted, but I worked really, really hard, and I tried to do really good work. So
You do great work. I'm like
Oh,
such a
thank you.
fan of your show.
thank you so much.
So we're really excited to have you with us
It's my
today.
pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Well, I mean, radio's changed a lot. How many titles and positions do you have? Because I feel like a lot of people are gone, yet you're doing the job of 7 people.
Yeah. Well, I've been a music director 3 times, and I've been on the air, and then I was an assistant program director, and so I had a lot of management positions. And it was interesting to look at radio from a different vantage point, which was interesting for me. And then, you know, just being a program host is maybe my favorite thing. And that's what I do now, and that's perfect for me.
Do you find technology has changed from when you first started to now? Like, do you have to learn a bunch of computer stuff and like?
Yeah, I've definitely had to learn things, and it's definitely different. But I still look at the whole music part of it the same way.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, when I was on the radio before, especially at WDET, you know, rock and pop music were at a different point in history. And now, as I got back on the air 10 years ago, I didn't really realize that a lot of the people who built the foundation of rock and pop music would start to pass away. And so I ended up doing way more tributes to these artists that I would ever, it didn't even cross my mind. But now there's this entire history to look back on that there wasn't when I was on WDET the first time. So now we have 60 years, you know, thereabouts, to look back on a genre of music that continues to evolve. And so looking at the people that created it has been fascinating for me. And there's a whole new generation who's interested in finding out who these people are and why they're so important.
And
great.
writing songs that are kind of relevant to back then. And
Oh, yeah.
there's so much music out there that your head must just spin. Like, how do you decide every week
There's a lot
what to
out
play?
There's a lot. But there is a certain amount of mediocrity, so
Yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
there's just so much good stuff.
There's a lot of great stuff out there.
I was listening to, I listen to Pandora sometimes, and I just pop in Aretha Franklin, and so much great music and all that Motown, and it's...
Well, it's Motown's 60th anniversary, and so everybody's talking a lot more about it. And I was at Hitsville recently, and I hadn't been for a tour there in a while. Actually,
Since the new renovation?
yeah. So I did a conversation. I have this series called Essential Conversations, and it's in front of an audience, and then we turned it into a podcast. And so Susan Rogers was the person I interviewed back in May, and Susan Rogers was Prince's audio engineer for 5 years. So she spent every waking hour with Prince, before, during, and after Purple Rain. And so the conversation with her was unbelievably fascinating when she talked about what he was really like to be around and to work with. But one of the things I wanted to do for her when she was in town was take her to Hitsville. So she had never been there. So we went there, and she was blown away by it. And because she's going to be doing this kind of a tour of all these legendary recording studios. And she now teaches at the Berklee College of Music. And she was really fascinating. I mean, just to talk about, how Prince worked. Like one of the biggest misconceptions was that he was a perfectionist. And she just said there was no way he could be a perfectionist with the amount of material he was creating. So he would just be done, and then they would move on to the next thing. But basically, she goes, if he was awake, he was working. If he was working, she was working.
Oh.
And so after 5 years, she was
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah. She was exhausted.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so it was a fascinating conversation with her.
He's probably one of those guys that would just wake up with songs in his head, just jump right over to the studio.
She would have to be ready for him. That was her thing. And the thing is, she wasn't even hired to be his audio engineer. She was hired to come in and maintain all the equipment. And so she gets to the studio, and it was in his house at the time. And her first order of business is, I got to get all this equipment working right. So she goes and does all that, and she tells Prince's assistant, the studio's ready. He's, if he wants to start recording. And so he shows up. And he starts telling her, what he wants to do, and telling her, okay, why don't you get this ready and get this ready. And in her mind, she's saying to herself, the recording engineer that walks in is going to be mad about this because I'm doing all this stuff that this person's going to do. So she keeps doing it. She keeps doing it. And she finally looks at Prince, and she goes, who's recording all this? And he goes, you are. And that's how she got the job.
Hope she hit record.
She did,
He must have really trusted her and liked her.
They seemed to have mutual trust and admiration, and he trusted her, and she was always there for him. But her work was phenomenal. She's the one who started the vault because they were recording so much stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. She was awesome. So
Amazing.
Anyway, we went there, and she loved it. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, you were starting to tell us about meeting the electrifying mojo, and I think that's a story we definitely need to make time for. So tell us about running into him.
Well, here's a couple things. So I worked, those people who are longtime Detroiters and love music will know Sam's Jams in Ferndale. And I worked at the original store, which was the small store on 9 Mile. And then I was still working there when we moved it to the big location, which was just down the street. We were wheeling albums down the street in these carts, to get everything set up. And I was working on a Saturday night, and I used to work. I worked so much for a while there. But one night, it was a slow night, and this very nice gentleman came in. He was very unassuming. He bought up all this vinyl that we had, and he walked out, and one of the people I was working with said, did you know who that was? And I said, no. And he said, oh, that was the electrifying mojo. And I mean, you can't even find a photo of him anywhere at all. Like, he is nowhere on social media. And so 5 years ago, it just so happened I did something I never do. I'm not like a go and hang out kind of person. I'm not going to go hang out at things. And so I said, I'm going to go hang out at the Concert of Colors rehearsals because all these great local musicians are there, these Detroiters. And Don Was, who I had interviewed and known, this is his gig. It's the Don Was All-Star Review. So I show up, and I'm like, this is going to be fun because I knew it was going to be a tribute to Mojo, as a matter of fact. That was the theme. It was going to pay tribute to the electrifying mojo. So I walk in, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. So this is a Friday night, by the way, and the performance was the following night, and I had to be on the air the next morning at 11.
Oh, no pressure.
And so Don walks up to me, and he says, well, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said,
sleeping.
I'm going to be at I'm going to be at the gig. I'm going to be in the audience watching the tribute, And he goes, well, how would you like to help me with the show? And I'm thinking, okay, this is literally 24 hours away. What could I possibly do to help anything? And so at the time, the review is different now than it was then. At the time, all these bands would have to go on and off stage and tune and get set up, and he would have to fill that time. And that was real stressful because he had to play the bass too. So he said, I really need somebody to sort of MC and fill all this space.
Right? Oh, he'd be perfect for that.
Well, yeah. Well, so what do I say? No, you don't say no to him. He's the nicest person in the world. I said, of course, I'd be happy to help. And then I went home and freaked out. But I had already been doing my own tribute to Mojo, so I had all of this audio of him talking and people talking about him. So I brought all that, and I did, I emceed the thing, and it was great. And so then I've been working with him and Ishmael Ahmed since then on that part of the Concert of Colors. But we all wondered if Mojo was standing in the back that night, because Don got him to record a special opening for that performance. And so, he used to say on the air, flash your headlights, right? And in this opening, he said, flash your cell phone lights. So it was all redone. And it was so great. Oh, my gosh, he's so awesome. And so we all wondered, was he there watching everything that night? Nobody would even know. He could have stood back there and watched the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but you know what?
So what do you remember about what he looked like?
Is he short, tall?
Short, good-looking man, African-American. And he was just really a nice, unassuming guy.
Like not dressed funky?
No, wasn't dressed funky, nothing overstated at all. And, but what he did on the radio was so significant. I mean, he was the first one to play the B-52s and the Talking Heads and all these.
Oh, wow.
He played all of those artists on Detroit radio before anybody did. And he played black artists and white artists, and he had an audience that reflected what he played. It was just, he was so forward-thinking. And a legend in Detroit. I would love to talk to him one day, but I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Maybe we can get him on the show.
Oh, yeah, Chetty Patty. Come on our show.
I will come, and I'll do your makeup, and I'll pour your water, and I'll bring you food and everything. He's really incredible, yeah.
I'll try.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
That is a great story.
Wow.
So tell us a little bit about your beehive. I hear that you got some bees
It's my new
buzzing around.
passion. It's my new passion.
You have a beehive in your backyard?
I have two, and here's what happened.
Oh, my gosh.
It's the craziest thing. So my good pal, Chef James Regato from Mabel Gray, has a beehive on the top of his restaurant. And Urban Bee LLC put the beehive up there. And I kept thinking, you know what, I think I want a beehive. Because I really want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Especially when I heard about how endangered they are.
We need
And
bees.
Every third bite of food that you take is dependent upon bees.
Oh.
It's a $15 billion boost to the agriculture industry.
Wow.
So over 80% of our food depends upon the survival of the bee, of which there's 20,000 species, I think. And so I got to Brad last year, in the fall, because you can't get them in the fall. And I said, we want to do this. Okay, great. Comes out in the spring, sets it up. It's so awesome. And, I mean, you watch this ecosystem, and it's unbelievable to watch. They come and they go, and they will pollinate 15 miles from my house and come back at the end of the day.
Would you have to go out there in a beekeeper costume and do stuff?
I go out there without one, and then I'll sometimes, if I know they're going to be aggravated, I'll put one on. So when Brad comes to check out the hive, make sure everything's healthy, I'll put one on. But so here's what happened a couple weeks ago. This is the craziest story. So my husband and I, it's a Friday night. It was 4th of July weekend, and I go to look at the bees, and you'll see them sometimes on the outside of the hive, and they'll be kind of like bearding, they call it. Well, I have a hoop house where I grow my tomatoes and stuff right kind of in front of the hive. And we walk out, and there's thousands of bees on the ground, which is where they don't belong. Mm-hmm. But they were alive. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I send it to Brad, and I'm like, what is happening over here? Freaking out. He goes, I'm not sure what's happening over there, so I'm going to send it to my mentor. And so I go, okay, so I start pulling weeds, and I have a giant empty lot at my house, so I have huge lot at
and
my
lots of
Detroit
weeds,
house.
probably.
Lots of daylilies. It's a daylily farm,
Oh,
actually.
good.
Oh, it's beautiful out there right now. Weeding, yes, a part of my life I'd prefer to forget. So these bees start coming over the top of the hoop house, Like, there's like a couple hundred, and then there's like thousands.
Ooh,
And
scary.
And so I'm like, what is going on? So my husband's like, we're going in. So we go in, and within half an hour, they're all gone. And we go back, and they're still on the ground. And so some had gotten into the hoop house, and Brad said, leave the doors open so that they can get out. Well, what ended up happening was they swarmed inside the hoop house, and they formed like this giant football on the inside of the hoop house. So the queen left that hive to start forming another colony, which is really good news. But usually they'll go up into a tree somewhere. Well, they ended up staying right on our property. So Brad comes the next day, and he basically scoops all of these thousands of bees into this brand new hive. So now we have 2 of them, and we have 2 from like the same hive. It's crazy. With 2
One
queens
queen.
now.
Oh, 2 queens?
So the queens will either duke it out, or one will go, I'm out of here.
Wow. Yeah,
She
that's
just
an
said,
issue.
okay.
So one's
I'm
dominant.
leaving.
One's dominant.
So now there's like the original queen. She left. The new queen is in the original hive.
Drama.
And so in the spring we'll have honey, but I'm not really doing it for the honey. I really want to try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so now we have like 50,000 in the one hive.
So what are some things we can do to help the bees?
Don't use pesticides. That is a big one because that's what really kills them. Don't mow down your dandelions because they love that. So leave those up. Don't mow as often because they do a lot of stuff underground and you disturb them every time you mow. So those are just some of the things that you can do that will kind of help the cause if you don't want to have a beehive. But pesticides are a huge thing. And unfortunately, there was a program that President Obama started to track the health of the honeybee to see if we're taking care of them. And that program was just ended. So we kind of don't know, and there's a little more widespread pesticide spraying, which is unfortunate. And so our survival depends upon them and their health. So all we want to do, my husband and I just want to like tell people, you know, there's a way to do your part, and if you want to have a hive, you can. It's not like you would never know these beehives are back there unless you walk back there.
So if we like come to your house,
You
we're
would
not going
never
to be
know.
like, oh my God,
No, you would never know.
you get a bee swatter.
They're really not that interested in stinging you either.
Yeah.
Like I've been out there. They don't really
That's when
bother
people
you.
shush them away. That's
Yeah.
when they come.
Who
Yeah.
wants to be shushed? Nobody.
Well, that's a great lesson and something easy
Yeah.
to get behind.
It is definitely. So definitely, you know, you can do a lot of reading about it, but it really is a rewarding and very exciting little new hobby. For
We
me.
can live with bees.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
need to.
do you
Can
get
cohabitate.
involved with nonprofits then? Or, I mean, I'm sure that you third party do something. And
I have been the marketing chair for the Greening of Detroit. And so the
Great.
Greening of Detroit has planted over 80,000 trees in Detroit. And so
Wow.
a healthy tree canopy in a city is 40% coverage, and Detroit is at like 22%. We don't have enough coverage. And so they are doing amazing work of planting trees and the storm runoff. Like that's one of the big things. The more trees and the more vegetation you have when it rains like that, all of those, all of those will just soak up all of the water instead of it going into the sewers and going into the streets. And that's why it's great to plant trees and stuff. But they're doing amazing work in Detroit.
Like apple trees and stuff?
Apple
'Cause
trees,
I think
trees, any kind of trees.
Fruit trees. I think that'd be kind of cool to
Yeah.
have orchards like in the middle of Detroit.
Well, there's certainly room for
yeah,
them.
there are.
I know.
Well, I was going to ask you what you did to relax, but I have a feeling it's gardening and tending to your bees, taking care of your land. I don't know.
I do have a lot to go on. I love to cook, and that's relaxing for me.
Me too.
So I love to cook.
Do you like to bake?
I love to bake.
See,
I'm
I
getting
don't
better
bake.
at it.
I don't bake. I cook.
Yeah. I do both. I'm better at baking. Get the Sister Pie cookbook.
Oh,
Sister Pie, one of my favorite places in the world, in West Village. Get the Sister Pie cookbook. You'll be all excited
I'm
about
following
baking.
them
I
on
need to start
Facebook.
baking more.
Sister Pies
'Cause my
are
mom
good.
was a baker, so I
Yeah,
like to cook.
It's great.
I like
But
to experiment.
I mean, the thing about cooking is that it's creative.
Yeah.
And it is a way for you to show somebody you love them. When you cook for somebody, you show them that you love them.
Absolutely.
And from my perspective, so my work, there's nothing tangible about my work. it goes out there into the ether and it's gone. But if I cook, I can taste it and smell it and feel it and experience it. And so I love photography and I love gardening and I love the bees, and all of that stuff is very visual and very tangible. And so that satisfies the lack of that in the work that I do.
So do you go to Eastern Market to get a lot of your stuff?
Well, I used to, but when I went back on the air on Saturday mornings, it makes it really tough.
Yeah, have a bushel of stuff in your car. It's all hot.
So
in
is
there.
it hard to have a social life? I mean, what kind of hours are you working? How many hours do you put in a week?
I put in a lot of hours. I mean, I do voiceover work, and I have another little company that I just started, and so, and I work every weekend. So, you know, the days of going out for brunch on Saturday morning are kind of over. And
Gotta make your own brunch.
Family birthday on a Monday.
Yeah, it's so Sunday is. I still work every Sunday because I have to have things ready for Monday morning, but. I don't go out as much as people would think that I do, but I try to go and make things that I think are important, because I do the Heroes of Breast Cancer event for Carmanis as well, so I posted that every year. So I make time for certain things, but yeah, I work a lot and I do a ton of research, so a lot of my work is very solitary. And when I'm at the station, you know, on Saturdays and Sundays, there's nobody there. So it's very solitary then as well.
Yeah, if you don't have a guest, you're all alone.
Yeah, I'm by myself the whole time. Oh, it's fine. You know, nobody's in my way.
You need a Chatty Patty or a Pala Walla, like a little sidekick. That's where we have each other.
I know. That would be funny, actually. But I work really hard. And if somebody ends up passing away, I end up, you know, jamming tons of research into a couple days. Because, you know, when somebody dies and they are, you know, a figure you want to pay tribute to, you only have one chance to get that right. You don't get a do-over on that. And so I take that really seriously and end up working.
Wow.
Do you have time to vacation?
I just came back from Italy. My first vacation in 7 years.
Food vacation.
It wasn't intended to be, but it kind of was.
It has
go
to
to
be
Italy,
there.
it kind of is. But I lost weight when I was there. Maybe I need to move. I mean, maybe that is the key to success. But I ate pasta and pizza every day.
Oh, that's
and
my
I
dream.
drank wine, which I don't drink a lot of wine here. I'm not a big drinker, but
they just give it to you. I mean, you know,
It's
it's
with everything.
assumed. It's assumed.
Oh, man.
it is
I need
just
to go
there. But, you know, the food tastes different. And the preservatives and some of the stuff that are allowed into our food in this country are not allowed into food in that country. And you can taste the difference, and your body can feel the difference. And so if I ate like that here, I would feel awful. But I felt amazing. I swam every morning with mountains in the background.
Oh.
And
Do you speak French? I mean, I'm Italian.
Yeah,
Did
I
you?
actually studied French for 8 years.
Oh, so
but-
French, yeah.
No,
Je parle français petit peu.
un petit peu.
Toilette. That's what you got to learn how to say.
Yeah.
Toilette.
Eau de toilette.
Yeah, that's right. But I know I should. I'm like a fake Italian. I can't speak it. I just looked the part when I was there.
See, now you need to
is
learn
fun.
how to make your own pasta
Oh yeah.
and not put the preservatives in, and your own sauce, no canned stuff. And
You want to
just
eat the
hit it like
best
that.
pasta? Go to She-Wolf.
Really?
Yes, because
Okay.
they mill. All right, so Chef Anthony Lombardo, love him, mills their own flour on site and makes their own pasta
Okay.
every single day.
I need to go
so
there.
you need to go to She-Wolf and eat the
I need to
pasta,
go
and
there.
it is a whole different deal.
Oh man,
He's-
I love food
he's doing
too.
it the right way
I'm
over
like
there.
you. I love food.
I just love it.
Well, thank you so much for joining
Oh my
us
gosh, this
today.
was great. Thank
And
you
we've
so
had
much.
a blast. And thanks for watching another episode of the Chatty Patty
Pala Walla
Talk Show.
Hello, hello, hello. It's the Chatty Patty Pala Walla Talk Show. Hello, hello, hello. It's the Chatty Patty Pala Walla Talk
We
Show.
will talk about the things that mean so much to you, like going to a restaurant or hanging at the zoo, clothes and sports and funny news, crafts and travel too. Nothing ever scripted, so expect the unexpected.
Hello, hello, hello.
Aloha.
It's the Chatty Patty Pala Walla Talk Show. It's the Chatty Patty